We're new to the community. We've been here about a year. I moved here to work for the Forest Service and Recreation. So last summer I managed all the visitor center and all the campgrounds up in Hat Creek. And then recently started a new position, and I'll go into all the things that I'm doing now. It gets my head spinning. And Kayla's also going to be working with the RCD in Fall River and with my new employer, Todd Sloat. He has a restoration business. And
I'm also a substitute teacher, so we wear many hats currently. I don't know how to work the clicker.
Oh, okay.
How do I make the slide change?
I can do it.
Okay. You work on it.
All right.
So the first thing that we're going to talk about is the really cool Bioenergy cluster project that's proposed for the Intermountain area. This is, you can go ahead and share. So the Bioenergy cluster project is the proposed plan to create 3 small-scale, community-based bioenergy facilities. They're going to be less than 5 megawatts in size and will be able to participate in renewable energy incentive programs. So that's really exciting. It makes it more affordable for the bioenergy facilities to operate, and it could even, in the long run, lower the cost of power. I can't say that for sure yet, but it's a cool maybe, so it's worth mentioning. The proposed locations for this are Burney Hat Creek Bioenergy, which is Burney Hat Creek Construction. They're building another little area, or actually not building, but kind of remodeling another little area to function as the bioenergy facility. Tubin Enterprise Bioenergy, which will also be in Burney, and MacArthur Bioenergy.
Do you have sites for those 2 also?
These 2 do not have sites yet. They are very, very preliminary. So the cool thing that's happening right now is that there's a lot of legislative support for bioenergy. It's a great time to get these facilities going. So first off, Senate Bill 1122 establishes a feed-in tariff contract called Biomap for small renewable electricity producers to sell investor-owned utilities like PG&E at higher rates than are offered to larger utility-scale power producers. So that basically means that bioenergy, even though it's more expensive to operate and of course to collect materials is a huge expense, they're going to be getting a lot of cost incentives from PG&E to make them an operable business. And this is mostly because bioenergy is a huge part of the California carbon plan, the forest carbon plan, and it's recognized as having a vital role in combating the effects of climate change. So another really, really cool thing is that a byproduct of bioenergy is this little substance called biochar, which is kind of like super compacted carbon, and you can add it to soil. It can store carbon for thousands of years, so that's great. That's something that our forests really need, because currently we just have wood all over the floor, decaying, releasing carbon back into the atmosphere. Plus, it sets us at a much higher risk for a catastrophic wildfire. So this is proposing going through forests in 50-mile radiuses of all the proposed locations, harvesting downed and diseased material, such as lots of the trees that have been affected by bark beetle. Those would be harvested and collected from both public and private land. So that's another really cool thing. It's public and private landowners working together to remove these sources of carbon polluters and fire risks from the forest and convert them to energy. So that's really cool. Go ahead.
Did it go?
It didn't go. Okay, so like I said, the forests right now are not in the best of shape. The prolonged drought has left them very, very susceptible to bark beetle, and they have kind of a low immunity right now. So it puts us at a huge risk for wildfire. So we need active management to remove those dead and diseased trees. And one of the great things about this project is that they can only harvest from sustainably. So it has to be sustainable land for them to harvest from. And they estimate harvesting 373,000 bone dry tons of biomass per year from both public and private land. That's a huge amount. And over a 20-year period, the project aims to restore 14,000 acres. So that's great. It's promoting forest resilience and biodiversity, all things that are going to strengthen our forests for years to come. Go ahead.
How do you restore forest? What do you mean by that?
So one of the things that's happening right now is that forest hasn't been actively managed. So there's periods of time where we weren't touching a forest at all. And then there's periods where wildfire came through and completely decimated things. So you have trees that are all the same length in a canopy, and they're all pretty juvenile trees. Those aren't huge sources of carbon storage. So those trees are also not letting light through to the lower canopy, and then the upper canopy, maybe those trees are starting to break down, but when a wildfire comes through and it sets ablaze that mid-canopy, it's very likely that the fire will then jump to the larger trees, which are huge sources of carbon storage. So because we haven't been actively managing our forests for so many years, there's some things we're going to have to do. That's also, the restoration is also going to include invasive species removal, which is another huge problem. I don't know if you guys have driven out 44 to Lassen National Park, but you can just see hillsides that are just covered with woolly mullein. You know, that used to be forest, and one of the things we want to do is try to, you know, put some health back into the forest, replanting trees where they need to go, looking at where erosion could possibly be harming sensitive waterways, trying to mitigate that, all sorts of stuff. But I can give you some more information on some of those restorations.
So restore essentially means thin out and remove invasive species. Look at, that's what you mean by restore.
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Does it include replanting?
Yes.
Yeah, plus the
Definitely.
replanting now is not as, it used to be really hard to get a pine tree to grow. And now, in fact, I think, if I'm not mistaken, somebody who's connected with the restoration up on Hatchet Mountain, they anticipated 1 out of 10 trees making
Oh, wow.
it. And now
That
they're
sounds so good.
growing too close together. See, they were so, it worked so well that they didn't have to worry about it. Now, one more question.
Okay.
Public and private. Would that include the Thousand Lakes area?
That is wilderness, and
Yeah.
wilderness has totally different rules. I
know,
don't see,
but-
and it also, the things that are going to collect the biomass probably are going to be large trucks. So they need to be able to use logging roads, and there is a ban on motor vehicles in
Right,
wilderness.
I knew that.
So unfortunately, I don't think that there will be harvesting of biomass from wilderness
That's
areas.
too bad, because that was kind of critical to what we had going on in Hat Creek here not too long
I
ago.
know. You know, and there's other things that we can do to go up into wilderness. It's just going to take longer and more volunteers.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's going to be separate from this bioenergy, but we
Gotcha.
have a lot of other projects in the works.
Yeah,
Um,
one of
looking
those
for
is
grant
us
funds.
volunteering and doing
Yeah.
invasive species removal and going to the wilderness and doing some restoration.
Get the
And
Boy
we would be
Scouts
happy
on
to
it.
get a big group out there doing it.
Yeah.
That would be
I
awesome.
used to go up there.
So some of the benefits to the community, just a short list, are economic stimulation and growth, because this is going to be 3 whole new businesses that are coming into the community. Of course, that's going to stimulate our local economy. And it's also going to provide jobs, which is really awesome. So there will be an addition of full-time and ancillary jobs at each project location. I can't say how many, of course, right now, because everything's still pretty early. But also community-based energy independence, which is pretty cool. And it also may lower our cost of power in the long run, especially if we keep seeing these renewable energy incentives at a legislative level that are kind of regulating the market. So they're kind of going to cut costs. And of course, healthier forests, which will reduce wildfire, which is something I think all of us would appreciate. You can go forward again. Okay, so this is where the projects are kind of at right now. So Burney Hat Creek is the most far along. They have already partnered with a gasification developer, West Biofuels. It is state-of-the-art system of gasification, very low emissions, and it also utilizes that biochar I was talking about earlier, which will be a byproduct of the process, which can be also sold. It's a super nutrient-rich material. You can add it to your garden. It would be awesome. And of course, it would boost carbon storage. So that is.
Can I interrupt one more time?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure.
The place that was between Burney and Johnson Park, Covanta, I think it was called. So that's a thing of the past. That's
Yeah.
considered, that's considered a different situation. Right?
Yeah, that's a different situation.
Okay.
Yeah, totally separate.
I have a question.
Okay.
Okay, at Covanta, we used to be able to bring, green waste there. Is that something that will still with some of these?
I'm not sure yet, but I'm really, really hoping for that, because one of the biggest goals of this project is to eliminate that black smoke from entering the air. And I don't know about you, but I really hate it when I'm running here in town and I run and someone has a huge burn pile by the side of the road, and then I'm just like, you know, it's not pleasant.
Wet
So,
pine needles.
yeah, pine needles. So if we could have a way to pool all of our biomass that we have on our own lands together, and then that could be harnessed to make energy, biochar, we wouldn't have that harmful black carbon smoke getting into our atmosphere, that would be awesome. I totally see the ideals and the goals of that project being on a similar line to help us do that, but I think all of these things are, of course, just going to take time, as we all know how slowly things move. So another thing that Burney Hat Creek has completed is a CEQA, which is the California Environmental Quality Act assessment, basically, and I read through it, and it's a great assessment. There's no ecological, environmental impacts. It won't impact the community in any harmful ways. You won't even be able to see, smell, or hear what's going on. So it's pretty awesome. And they've also submitted a system impact study to PG&E and completed a site and grading plan. And they are expected to be a biomap participant, which is the renewable energy incentive I mentioned earlier. And they are expected to be the very first community-based bioenergy projects in California. So it's really exciting right here in our town. We're gonna have the first one, and there hopefully will be a bunch more of these all along the forests of California, because it's something we definitely need. And currently, 2-Bit Enterprise is in the pre-development stages. They're doing a lot of talks. They haven't really picked a definite location. And then MacArthur is in very preliminary stages. I can't really answer any questions about the last 2 of those because I just don't have the information. But as more information becomes available, I will post it on the Fall River RCD website. So you can look there for updates. Yes?
No noise, no smell, no smoke. How does this work? Is it a fire with wind driven with air driven inside to make it burn at an intense heat, and then?
Honestly, I would do a really bad job explaining how the gasification system works, but I will point you to a document that goes over it thoroughly.
What size font is it?
Get the magnifying glass and zoom to your heart's content.
Okay, I'd be interested.
Yeah, I actually have, if you guys at any point want more information on this project, check out the Fall River RCD. I have a page on there with this information and a bunch of other resources to answer all of your questions, and I'll continually be updating that. So
Walt's font has to be C-spot right.
okay. So looking for size 24 for you. I'll keep that in mind. Okay.
Yeah, but we would love your feedback, and we have a couple other topics to go over.
I still have one more slide.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. But definitely email us with other questions.
Okay, this is just kind of like who is supporting this project. The U.S. Forest Service got the Wood Innovation Grant to start doing this on their land to be able to harvest bioenergy. So that's a really cool thing. The Fall River Resource Conservation District, and this is going to depend on the cooperation of public and private landowners working together. So it's kind of unique in that sense, but together we can.
You say one thing and then you say something else. That says sponsors of the project, and you just said, and will need public and private land.
Well, they already have done like a whole area map, which is also on the RCD if you want to look. And the public and private landowners have already agreed to participate in this. So they are sponsoring it, but it will also be contingent on them working together, of course.
But 50-mile.
A 50-mile radius
good, yeah.
between all of those locations. So I think that encompasses Shasta, Lassen, Siskiyou, and Modoc Forest. So not the whole forest, of
I
course,
understand.
but a 50-mile radius.
My first thought was, okay, let's see, accurate description, and then wait a minute, they're gonna.
They don't have
override.
exclusive
They're
territories.
overriding.
Each entity, when they get online, they don't have exclusive territories. They're sharing the 50-mile radius.
Yes.
There you
It's
go.
kind
And
of
they are
okay.
working together.
Concentric circles or semi-concentric, whatever.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah. exactly.
And there's a map on the RCD. It's really, I was going to print it out, but it's colorful and it was going to be a lot of ink.
50
So.
miles is a lot better than I
Yeah,
hoped for.
yeah, definitely. It's a step in the right direction. I can take a few more questions if anyone has them, but otherwise, check out the website.
Okay, I have land with trees that are down.
Okay.
A significant amount of brush that has developed.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody will come in because I have road access, big road access, and clear that all out?
I am not sure on that specifically. I
Okay.
think they're looking for people with a large amount of land.
Okay,
So I think it
have
depends on the size of what you have.
3,165 acres, about 3 miles.
That sounds a lot to me.
About 3 miles from Hack Creek Construction, so.
Okay, you know what? I would, if I was you, and when this gets more developed, reach out. You know, you could always be included, and I'm sure if it's a really easy access road for them, they would consider it. And like the green waste thing too, once this thing is up and running, if they're not taking your green waste, let's urge them to, you know?
Organize, yeah.
Yeah, let's do it, because why not? Any other questions? Yes.
I just want to clarify from my own mind. So there are 3 business energies that are going to be involved in this. And the Fall River Resource Conservation District is helping to coordinate all of this.
In a sense, yes.
And with the cooperation of the United States Forest Service, which received a grant. Okay, I just wanted to clarify how the
You got
operation was
it,
taking
you got
place.
it. So,
Yeah.
that
And the RCD website I just built, it is not 100% complete, but the bioenergy page and some recreation resources page is all up there. Not all the board members got back to me with their bios yet, but you know, it's a work in progress.
It's a work in progress.
But please check it out.